When people think about the fall of Rome, they usually picture the same scenes: barbarians storming the city, legions falling apart, or emperors murdered through palace conspiracies. But the truth is, great empires don't collapse only because of external invasions. Their downfall begins from within, and one of the most powerful forces behind that internal decay is money. Rome didn't fall only because of invasions or political corruption. It also fell because it undermined its own monetary system. And this story isn't just about ancient history. Even today, it holds important lessons for many countries. Let's start from the beginning. For centuries, the backbone of Rome's economy was the silver denarius, first minted around 211 BC. This coin was made of almost pure silver. Soldiers were paid with it, merchants traded with it, and ordinary people stored their savings in it. In short, the denarius wasn't just a coin. It was a symbol of the people's trust in Rome. As long as Rome remained strong, so did its currency. But maintaining a vast empire wasn't cheap. Paying the armies, building roads, bridges, and aqueducts, defending the borders, and financing endless wars all required enormous amounts of money. Eventually, the taxes collected by the government were no longer enough to cover these growing expenses. That was when the emperors turned to one of history's oldest economic tricks. Instead of raising taxes, they began reducing the amount of silver in the coins. At first glance, the coins looked exactly the same. They still carried the emperor's image, they were the same size, and they circulated under the same name. But the real value inside each coin was slowly disappearing year after year. The numbers tell the story clearly. During the reign of Augustus, the denarius was about 95% silver. Under Caracalla, that dropped to around 50%. By the time of Gallienus, the silver content had fallen to less than 5%. People were now using coins that were almost entirely bronze, covered with only a thin layer of silver. Naturally, everyone noticed, and then inflation began. A sack of grain that once cost a single denarius now cost dozens. Soldiers demanded higher wages. Merchants became reluctant to accept the new coins. Many people returned to using gold or simply bartered goods instead. Because the truth was simple. No one trusted Rome's money anymore. As trust declined, the government minted more coins. The more coins it minted, the more trust disappeared. And so a vicious cycle was born, one that became harder and harder to escape. Between A.D. 235 and 284, during the period known as the crisis of the 3rd century, the consequences became impossible to ignore. Emperors were being crowned and assassinated within months. Plagues spread across the empire. The borders were constantly under attack, and the economy was barely holding together. The government tried to find a solution. In A.D. 301, Emperor Diocletian issued an edict that fixed the prices of thousands of goods and services. Violating those price controls could even result in the death penalty, but it didn't work. Because the problem wasn't the prices. The problem was the money itself. Once people lost faith in the currency, no law could restore that trust. Eventually, Rome abandoned the denarius altogether. Emperor Constantine introduced a new gold coin called the solidus, minted with a consistently high level of purity. It remained a trusted currency in the Eastern Roman Empire for centuries. But for the Western Roman Empire, it was already too late. The foundations of the economy had collapsed. Trade had weakened. The army had lost much of its strength. Rome didn't fall in a single day. Its collapse was the result of a slow unraveling that lasted for years. And one of the biggest reasons behind that unraveling was the destruction of its monetary system. So what does all of this tell us today? Simply this: when a country's currency begins to lose the public's trust, it's not just the value of the money that declines. The economy slows down, people's purchasing power falls, savings lose their value, and trust in the government begins to erode. History has shown this pattern many times. Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, and many other countries, each in different ways. Every time the story was remarkably similar. Governments expanded the money supply to cover rising expenses. In the short term, it looked as though the problem had been solved. But in the long run, it was ordinary people who paid the price. Today, the entire world operates on fiat currencies. Central banks can create trillions of dollars whenever they believe it's necessary. That doesn't necessarily mean the world is destined to repeat Rome's fate. But history does offer an important warning. Trust in money is one of the most valuable foundations of any economy. And once the trust is broken, rebuilding it can take years. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson Rome left behind. Empires are not destroyed only by enemy armies. Sometimes they are quietly weakened from within, when people lose faith in their money, their institutions, and the governments that stand behind them. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe and hit the like button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next videos. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.